Namaste. Welcome to the Shaman The Mermaid. I'm Michael.
I'm Katrina.
We're happy to be here, and we're bringing you the report for the Leo full moon, which is Thursday, January 28th, and we'll take you 2 weeks all the way out to the new moon, the Aquarius new moon on February 11th. And in between there, we've got a lot of conjunctions, a lot of seed energy. That's going to be crucial to our theme, and some squares, which in this time we're going to call it turning the earth, turning things over, and a retrograde and a few other things. But as always, it seems like these past couple new moons and full moons, there's a ton of energy happening on the actual day of the moon.
Right.
Energy.
Yeah, and this one is no exception. There's a lot going on in the Leo full moon, but I like just be excited and enthusiastic about a Leo full moon, because that's part of the nature of Leo, is enthusiastic and excitable and playful. They're the actors on the stage. They're the children laughing. Leo energy is creative, and that's a key word for this whole next 2 weeks is creativity, innovation, invention, germination, and kind of seed thoughts, letting seed thoughts percolate. Maybe percolate's another good word for this next 2 weeks as well. So the full moon in and of itself is rather joyful, I think. The fullness of it gives it that extra luminosity. Of course, Leo has a shadow side, as all the planets or the signs do, and potentially a full moon could have that negative energy where it can be prideful, a little bit arrogant, thinking they're the best one, taking that enthusiasm into extreme party mode and going over the top with their joy. So, you want to keep it reined in, but overall, I think it's very excitable right now for this particular full moon, and step into your creativity. Also happening, though, as we said, this is a loaded moon in that there's a few other aspects happening on the same day. You want to talk about the square, because that's probably the more challenging one.
Mm-hmm. The planet Mars, Lilith, sometimes called Black Moon Lilith, and Uranus are all hanging out together in the sign of Taurus, and they are squaring both the moon and the sun. When it's a full moon, the moon and the sun are opposite of each other, and so, yes, right there, that's Uranus, Lilith, and Mars. It's making a square energy. And Mars and Lilith have a lot to do with the masculine and feminine energies. Mars is what choices we make, how we use our willpower. It's how we take initiative into the world. It can be also, when it's in its shadow side, how we get angry. I guess that's not shadow necessarily, but what we do once we're angry. Do we project on others? Do we attack? Do we get defensive? Or do we reflect and turn that into passion? The Leo, the positive Leo side.
Right.
Lilith is connected to the feminine energy that has been suppressed over the time of the patriarchy. So Lilith in herself is not bad, but she is what happens when intuition, sexuality, childbirth, emotional intelligence, and circular time, and just the general feminine receptivity, community, and caring get pressed down for greed, war, not taking care of Mother Earth, and just taking all her resources. And so Lilith is what that looks like when it's distorted. And when Lilith is squaring the sun and the moon, it's like we need to have a conversation about this energy. Are we taking care of Mother Earth? Are we taking care of our sexuality? Are we looking at what's going on with our emotional bodies? And Uranus is the random card, Katrina's favorite.
Yes.
What might Uncle Uranus do here?
I do like Uranus because it's like the grab bag gift. You don't know what you're getting. It could be a total bummer what pulls out, and then sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I've wanted one of these forever. And with him squaring the sun and the moon at this particular time with Mars and Lilith, it could be a big spanking of y'all need to wake up and grow up and shut up and move on up, and we might get a little bit of a reprimand for the errors of our ways in some capacity, especially if we've been out of balance if we have been repressing the sacred feminine, if we have been arrogant and over controlling with our Mars energy, you can pretty much expect Uranus is going to bring that piece as a spanking. And then if we have been in right way, if we've been in integrity around the sacred feminine, honoring, respecting, cherishing that aspect of the feminine energy, and if we have been in right way with our Mars energy, then maybe this is a catalytic boon to help bring that into a maturation so that there's a real strong force that helps us stand in our power. You know, the caduceus is the masculine and the feminine snakes equally balanced, coming to the top and piercing out, and that symbol is of whole health, of being holy, of being healthy, all the same roots. So there's a bit of it that the square could just kind of get us all ship shape and ready for that more whole self to stand in its power, because it's squaring the sun and the moon, and between the sun and the moon, that is your whole self. That's also Ida and Pingala, the masculine and feminine energies snaking up. The solar channel and the lunar channel are very much the masculine and feminine. So there's a real reckoning to get balanced with those energies on this Leo full moon. And then that's not it. There's more. There's a conjunction, and Michael alluded to conjunctions are when two planets are working together because they're so close from our vantage point in the night sky. They look like they're touching. And so there's two more conjunctions on this same full moon that are pretty significant, that will be influencing not only that Lilith-Mars square, but also the full moon in Leo. And the first one is Venus and Pluto, both in the tail end of Capricorn. What does that look like?
Well, I'm going to go with your caduceus part on the square of the masculine and feminine, hopefully weaving together for wholeness and health. And that's kind of like digging and plowing up the earth, and the seed planted is Venus and Pluto together. Venus is self-love, and Pluto is the soul. And just to go for the simplest interpretation, it's loving yourself, loving your soul, loving who you are unconditionally. Venus and Pluto are in the sign of Capricorn, which has a lot to do with sometimes conditional things like you'll be loved if you do this, you'll be loved if you accomplish that, you'll be loved if you look like this or have this in your possession. And deeper Capricorn has said you're loved because you are in integrity, you're a soul being, you're here on planet Earth to share your gift of love. And so if your masculine and feminine are balanced, you have a realization, whoa, I'm pretty cool.
The loving yourself and Pluto, that's Venus, you know, the values that you hold for yourself, the respect you have for yourself, the self-love, as Michael said, Venus energy, and Pluto, the soul. To me, this is a lot like I think it's Rumi who says, let the beauty of what you love be what you do. And Pluto's a lot to do with your dharma, what your soul's purpose is. And Venus is, again, what you love about yourself. And so let this be a chance to really reflect and look into what is the seed of your soul that you love to do that would be part of your soul's purpose or that dharmic path that you're on. So that's one. And another conjunction or seed that we're going to plant at this time, and this will become a little more aware once we unpack the theme for this 2 weeks. We haven't quite got enough unpacked to release it yet, but you'll understand in a moment. But the next conjunction that's on this same day is the Sun and Jupiter are going to look like they're right by each other in the night sky too. Jupiter, our very largest planet of all, and the Sun, our great star, these two big energies are coming together both in the sign of Aquarius. So back to those key words like innovation, inventiveness, evolution, revolution, revelation, awareness, epiphanies, ahas, great thinking. What does this look like with these two together?
Well, I hope it looks like let's take an adventure or a journey together, or imagine and go forth. Jupiter has a lot to do with that faith and imagination piece, and the Sun is putting your energy behind it. And since the Sun and Jupiter are together, they're also both opposite of the full moon in Leo. And hopefully that, if it's a positive, harmonious thing, that inspire, let's go on an adventure quest, whether it's let's quest to create something together or actually go on a journey, that it's inspired by the Leo full moon, which is that enthusiasm piece that Katrina had at the beginning, like the heart is saying, yes, I feel this.
You know, a Leo full moon, the moon is home in the Sun's sign. The Sun is home in Leo, and moon, its counter half, is sitting over there. So there's a little bit of that yin-yang piece. You know, there's a little bit of the feminine and the masculine, and the masculine and the feminine in some ways. And I think it's not ever, like, the Sun and the moon are never jealous of each other. So the Sun looking across and seeing the moon in its own sign, there's a harmony, like, you know me, you know, it's an opportunity for the inner self and the outer self to feel more in alignment. You know, sometimes we spend so much time presenting ourselves and showcasing ourselves, and here I am, and we're on another Zoom call, and we're doing another thing, and we're at another meeting, and we're talking to the family, and we're presenting constantly. And then internally, how do we talk to ourselves? Is it the same way that we're presenting on the outside? Is how you show up in the outside world matching how you show up to your own self inside? And I feel like this full moon is a great time for that reflection, to get in alignment with each other. Just a sidebar. So we're only on day 1, January 28th, Leo full moon, the square, and we're talking squares to be the tilling of the soil, turning things upside down a little bit to get prepared. The Mars, Lilith, Uranus square, Sun, Moon, Venus conjunct Pluto, Sun conjunct Jupiter, all on the same day. We're calling conjunction seeds. So in a sense, that first day is a chance to plant some seeds around your Dharma and around adventure seeking, or questing for adventure. All of this on that first day. Now I'm going to go right into our theme, because we've kind of planted the seed, and pun intended. Imbolc is coming up soon. It'll be in this report, February 2nd. And Imbolc is the Celtic holiday that is honoring that midpoint between winter solstice and spring equinox. And so it's right in between, and Imbolc means in the belly, and it's that germination period that a seed takes before it, you know, breaches the ground and comes into the sunlight. It's in that, you know, kind of incubation period, trying to jockey into position, turning in the earth, getting ready to make its way towards the light. And this is the same. If we are to follow the ways of nature, this time of year right now is the time for us to start, you know, germinating and incubating and getting our plans all together so that we can emerge in the springtime ready to go forth and spring forward into our lives. So this is the planning stage, or the incubation stage of our ideas, that all this Aquarian energy is really fertilizing right now. Aquarian energy is that innovation, is the percolating, is the marinating of all the ideas. So get your pen and paper out, get on your little whatever computer program you have, if you prefer to do it in Techville instead of the old-fashioned way. But I like to draw things out. I like to draw the picture. I'm more proficient that way than I am in technology. But whatever your preferred method, start sketching, start drawing, start planning. That business plan that you've been putting off, start it. That class that you want to develop, that paper you want to write, get the outline going. This is the time for that sort of thing. So the mantra or the theme is: a seed is not afraid of the dark or the light. It needs both to grow. And right now, that darkness that we're in, but with just a little bit of light starting to emerge, is the incubation that we need to help us to grow. So tap into both the dark and the light that we have right now at this midpoint between winter and spring, and that germination period. A seed is not afraid of the dark or the light. It needs both to grow. All right. Now we finally move out of the first day and onto the next big aspect in the sequence, and that's January 30th. What do we got?
Mercury retrograde, our first retrograde of 2021. Mercury retrograde 3 times this year. Next one will be in May. And this one is in the sign of Aquarius. So Mercury's making its way back through Aquarius towards the Sun, towards Jupiter. Venus will be there in Saturn. So as we said in this report, there's a lot of Aquarian energy going on. And Mercury's asking us to take stock and review what's been happening with our Aquarius energy, particularly around communication, technology, innovation, how we've been using currency and how we've been using the mercantile world. And Mercury retrogrades will probably bring up lots of things around politics and the community and the individual. I say that because Aquarius has a lot to do with what one puts out for the global community or their larger community or their social community, and how does it affect the individual and individual relationships. And so I think that will be a dynamic here that will be under review or reconsideration or under revelation.
Mm-hmm. I think Mercury is a thinking sign, and it's usually what we call in Sanskrit, we call chitta. It's that the fluctuations of the mind just spinning, and we're like, you're able to hold one thought like this and one thought like this and one thought like this and multitasking all the thoughts in our head. Mercury retrograde gives us a chance to slow that thinking down more, to be in maybe a curiosity where we can explore and we can research and review and rewind. It's a chance to really sit down. I don't know about you, but I have a subscription to 2 magazines that I really like, and I keep subscribing to them because even though they only come every other month, so I get it once every 2 months, it takes that whole 2-month period for me to read the magazines front to back, because there's so much busyness, so much go, and I don't stop and just sit and comb through and be curious and read and review. This Mercury retrograde gives us a chance to sit down and comb through some of those things that we've really wanted a chance to thoroughly look through or be curious about. And especially, as Michael said, around the things in innovation and technology and invention. Like, take your time to review about the vaccine, and take your time. That's a new innovation. That's revolutionary. That's a big thing on the forefront in technology for us. Take your time while Mercury's in retrograde to take a look and see what it is, what it means. Do your research on it. That's a big choice to make. And so with this retrograde, there's time for you to do some reflection on it. It seems to be a natural kind of embedded near Imbolc time for us to churn on a little bit more and give us some space for that. That's a big choice to make. And then after Mercury retrograde, February 1, we have another square, which again we're saying is tilling the earth, because Mars is part of the square, and Mars is in the earth sign of Taurus, which is all about the farming industry anyway, so it's a perfect little connection. What do you have on Sun in Aquarius square Mars and Taurus?
Woo-wee. We mentioned this a little bit last report, but all year long we're going to keep saying something in Aquarius is squaring something in Taurus. And a lot of it is going to be the outer planets, not this case though. like Saturn and Jupiter and Uranus all making squares to each other. But this energy of Aquarius, which is innovation, revolution, technology, looking towards the future, is going to be squaring Taurus, which is Mother Earth, soil, food, natural medicines from the earth, how we take care of our bodies, knowing our emotions and feelings, taking care of the self in a loving, respectful way. Also has to do with things like finance and real estate and money. And so this new, innovative, electric way is squaring maybe the ancient Mother Earth, Earth people way. And not that they have to be against each other, because we want to bring in some new innovations and new advancements, but we also don't want to forget that we come from the earth. Our water comes from lakes and rain, and our food grows out of soil, and that things that are really worth having have to do with Mother Earth's ground, like where your home sits. You need a piece of land to take care of your body and grow your food and take your medicines from the herbs, and you want these things to be in harmony. But the square is the sun illuminating against Mars. Sometimes Mars wants to fight or make impulse choices around here. So I would say be wise about what you're choosing here. Kind of what Katrina said with the Mercury retrograde.
And on that same day as Sun square Mars, Venus is going to move into Aquarius. So now we have another planet into Aquarius. If you remember, on the first day we said Venus was in Capricorn and it was conjunct Pluto. It just had that little kind of brushing with Pluto, passes Pluto, moves into Aquarius now on February 1st. And again, Venus is self-love, it's your values, it's self-respect, it's how you care for yourself. And moving into Aquarius, the sign of innovation, invention, revolution, maybe this is the day, Feb 1, that you kind of define or set the intention, a seed, which would be perfect because the next day is Imbolc, of a new way, a new innovative way to take care of yourself, like yoga, like meditation, like drinking more water. I've recently, my mom and I both we're teaming up together, taking in more water. I don't drink enough water for myself. So that's a dedication I'm making, or an intention, or a seed that I'm planting at this time, is to drink more water.
Aquarius is the water bear.
And Aquarius is the water bear, so perfect. You know, little things like that would be a perfect way to honor Venus moving into Aquarius, and just focus on how you can improve the self, your own self, in the way of with self-respect. Of course, if we're improving ourselves, we think it's that way, but sometimes I think we tackle these ideas of, well, if I could just, have fuller lips, or if I could just get a smaller butt, or if I had a faster car, or if I had a cuter apartment, then I would be able to respect myself. And that's not the new innovative ways that I'm talking about. It's taking, remember, Venus was conjunct Pluto just a few days earlier, and that's where you really love your soul self. At the core essence of who you are, you dig yourself. And that is what this new seed, Venus moving into Aquarius, is wanting you to plant. Not external things to make you more valuable, but bringing forth what's already the nugget of worth inside you and letting that showcase and shine and polishing it up instead. Venus in Aquarius on Feb 1. Then Feb 2, Imbolc, what this is all about. A seed is not afraid of the dark or the light. It needs both to grow. This is the day, the midpoint between equinox, or solstice and equinox. It's I use this analogy a lot, but in the fall I'll plant bulbs in the ground so that they come up in the spring, and you dig a big hole and you put the bulbs in. Sometimes they're carefully placed. Most of the time I do, because I try to put them in with loving kindness and talk to them and say, see you in the spring. But if you were to just throw the bulbs into the big hole that you dug and throw dirt on top, it is now at this time in bulk that those bulbs, if they were upside down, would start to reposition themselves so that their sprout end would start to seek the light. They rotate upside down. Same the snakes at this time of year are churning in there. They've been dormant. They burrowed deep down into the belly of the earth. Imbolc is to be in the belly. And then they start to sense that soon, around April-ish, they come back to the surface. But they start to turn in the belly of the earth, getting ready to jockey into position to come back a nude at the top of the earth in a few months. So this is that incubation again, that getting everything ready to go, getting our game plan all set so that when spring comes we can take off with our plan. Imbolc, February 2nd, also called Candlemas and Brigitte's Day. There's lots of things that you can do to have ceremony around this. You could, a lot to do with the light, because this is honoring that the light is starting to come back in the midpoint. So candles, hence Candlemas, is another way to do it. Do you have any more? The cross, Brigitte's cross.
Brigitte or Brigitte or Bridget, she's the triple goddess of the maiden, the mother, and the crone, and this time she's the maiden. And it's also representing the sun and the fire and the hearth. So, you know, do something with the sun gaze that day, either at sunrise, sunset, make a fire, outside or inside in the hearth with a candle, do some intention setting or burning.
Plant the seed.
Plant a seed.
Plant the seed. Oftentimes that is when I do my seed planting indoors, getting those little plants in their smaller pots with dirt and plant right around that time. This is a good time to do the indoor tomatoes that take a little longer, and peppers, things that can transplant come after a little bit of mid-May is a safe time to plant outside then. So you can start them inside now in bulk. And then February 4th we have a half moon in Scorpio, the midpoint, so we're midpoint in our report. And then February 5th, Venus, which is in Aquarius, we mentioned, will be right up next to another seed conjunct Saturn in Aquarius. What does that look like?
Well, Venus is kind of touch pointing Pluto and then Saturn, which is kind of reactivating a little bit of that Pluto-Saturn conjunction energy of 2020. However, she's kind of bringing it with something new now that she's coming up to Saturn. Bring something new to the table around understanding how we connect to our wisdom. Saturn is wisdom and karma and our soul purpose. And I think this is an opportunity for us after the year of 2020 and the start of 2021 to kind of say, what do we want to do now? Where do we want to carry ourselves in the future? How do we want to cultivate wisdom now in our society, in our education, in our systems, and make changes around that?
I think Saturn represents a lot of discipline too, a lot of tapas, to use a Sanskrit word. It's really wanting you to be on your game. So when Venus and Pluto were conjunct just a few days before this, and it's saying what is that deep inner core part of yourself that is needing nurtured or bringing to the surface for self-respect and soul's purpose together, then Venus, Saturn says, now let's have the discipline to let this really shine. The kind of the rules and the laws around your game plan, you know, the bullets in your business plan for how to take care of yourself moving forward. A little bit more structure around it. Then we go on February 6th. Venus in Aquarius is going to have a square with Uncle Uranus and Taurus. So this is tilling the earth again, fertilizing the soil, coming into that T-bone, so to speak, with Uncle Uranus. How do you feel about that one?
Anything goes. Uranus is the awakener and the great revelation. So whenever Uranus is being activated by a square or a conjunction or anything, it's taking that electricity Tesla energy and sending it out. And Uranus's job, if planets have jobs, is to awaken people to greater consciousness. Uranus does not care whether you like it and have a revelation, like, wow, this is amazing, mind blown, or if you're shaken up and awoken and saying, you need to change the way you're seeing this. Either way, Uranus throws some electricity your way. So, hopefully it's the good one.
A little shake up is good. Remember, a seed is not afraid of the dark or the light. It needs both to grow. So this is just part of our necessary kind of shaking up to help us be the best version of ourselves. And it doesn't always have to be, squares don't always have to be hardcore. Remember, we often refer to them as a dovetail, that this might be a nice harmonious way for them to work together and make a nice corner for us to turn for our own selves. And then we come to Sun conjunct Mercury, both in Aquarius, on February 8th.
Well, Mercury's retrograde, so last report Mercury conjunct the Sun, and now Mercury's coming back again to revisit with the Sun. And this is a chance to review, because Mercury is in that retrograde phase, some things that have happened the prior couple weeks, all the way back through maybe mid-January or early January. And take some time and think about it, reflect about it. When Mercury is in front of the Sun, in old school astrology they call it combust or overheated. And the energy of the Sun is so powerful that it's pushing through that aspect. And so the positive side of this is the heart energy is pushing through the mind, pushing through the matrix of the chitta.
I like that. Heart needs to be the boss over the mind. We've got it the other way around. So this is, use the retrograde while you're just reflecting, reviewing, researching, returning to your heartfelt self. Just let yourself sink into your heart in that one. Again, maybe we just keep a little bit of a zip on the lip so that we don't combust too much with our words on that particular day. That's February 8th. And then Mercury, again in Aquarius, will be squaring Mars and Taurus on February 10th. So another square, so another churning of the soil. And what do you have on that one? Mercury and Mars are very close to each other.
They are close to each other. They both start with M's.
And they're little and fast.
And they're little and fast. We just researched the word memory, which has to do with Mercury to some level because it's the mind and thinking. And memory, the first part, mem, means water, and ori means light. And so it's the light and the water connecting into our mind. And Mars is the warrior or the willpower choices here. And so there's a little bit of tension or dynamic tension between what we may thinking or what we may think we remember and the choices we've made. And this is an opportunity, because Mercury's retrograde, it has squared Mars already, so it's doing it again, to maybe review a choice or think something we think we know or remember, or we're like, no, that's the way it is for sure. And it's like, oh, well, maybe not. Maybe it's a new perspective or a chance to change that for the positive, so that you can till the soil and plant a new seed.
It's what you think versus what you want to do or what you've done. And so reviewing that. And remember, Mars is in Taurus, so don't be stubborn about it. Just have that honest review with Mercury in Aquarius retrograde. And then that's finally the
New
moon, the new seed in Aquarius. That's a beautiful time to really plant a seed of innovation. We'll get to that one when we come back to you on February 11th. In the meantime, remember, a seed is not afraid of the dark or the light. It needs both to grow. Let yourself marinate, percolate, innovate some new plans for this new dawn, new day that we're stepping into as a collective. We'll see you next time. Till then, namaste.
Namaste.